Okay, let's be honest. The word practice probably makes you think of, endless, boring drills. We've all been there. But what if I told you that we've been looking at it all wrong? What if the real secret to getting amazing at something isn't about how much you practice, but how you do it? Let's get into it.
So, you've got two paths here. On the left, we've got what's often called drill and kill. We all know this one. It's mindless, it's repetitive, and honestly, it's where progress goes to die. But look over on the right. That's deliberate practice. This is a total game changer. It's intentional, it's focused on a goal, and it is the scientifically proven road to actually mastering a skill.
So, what is the secret sauce here? I mean, what's the actual difference that takes you from that frustrating loop on the left to that amazing feeling of progress on the right? Well, it all boils down to a really simple but, wow, powerful shift in how we approach things.
And that brings us to the core concept of this whole thing, the deliberate difference. This is all about breaking free from just going through the motions and starting to build skills that are real and that actually last.
Okay, so here's the textbook definition. Deliberate practice is intentional repetition. The key word there is intentional. You're doing it with the specific goal of getting better. So it's not just about, say, playing a song on the guitar. It's about playing that one tricky chord change over and over, focusing only on how your fingers move until it's smooth. See the difference? It's active, not passive.
And hey, this isn't just some nice-sounding idea. It is backed up by some serious research. This quote from Ericsson's landmark study from 1993 really nails it. Sure, things like natural talent and being motivated play a part, but they're not the whole story. As you see right here, focused practice is the one thing that's absolutely essential to becoming an expert.
And that's the thing to remember. The goal isn't just to rack up more hours on the clock. The goal is to make every single hour count. Because when you practice the right way, you're building flexible skills you can actually use when you're hit with a totally new problem you've never seen before.
So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds good, but what do I really get out of it? Well, let's look at the proof. Here are 5 huge performance boosts that show why this method isn't just theory. It really, really works.
First, it seriously boosts long-term retention. We're talking about knowledge that sticks, not just stuff you cram for a test and forget. Second, it creates something called automaticity, which is a fancy word for making a skill so natural you don't even have to think about it. Third, it enhances transferability, which means you can take what you learned and apply it somewhere new. All of that together? Well, that's how you build real expertise. And the best part, when you see yourself making real progress, it sparks your motivation, which just makes you want to learn even more. It's an awesome cycle.
So what's happening inside our heads when we do this? You can kind of think about it in 3 steps. First, new information comes in through your senses. Then, deliberate practice holds that info in what's called your working memory. That's the practice zone. By really focusing on it there, you give your brain the time it needs to move it over to long-term memory. And boom, that knowledge is locked in.
And this idea of automaticity, it's like a superpower for your brain. Think about it. When you've practiced a basic skill so much that it's completely automatic, like a chef chopping an onion or you tying your shoes, you're not using any brain power on it anymore. And that frees up all that mental energy so you can tackle bigger, more complex problems. It's a total game changer.
All right, so we've covered the why. Now let's get into the how. This is the educator's playbook. And don't worry, it's not just for teachers. These are simple rules anyone can use to design practice that actually gets results, whether you're coaching a team, teaching a class, or just teaching yourself something new.
Think of this chart as your cheat sheet. On the do side, you absolutely want to mix up activities to keep things interesting and spread your practice sessions out over time. Cramming just doesn't work for long-term learning. Now, on the don't side, avoid just throwing someone into a super complex problem with no guidance, and definitely don't overload their short-term memory. It's all about building skills piece by piece with the right kind of support along the way.
And here is maybe the most important ingredient of all, feedback. But it has to be the right kind of feedback. We need to move past just saying, good job. Instead, you want to focus on the process, not just the final answer. So instead of saying, you got it right, try something like, wow, the strategy you used to break down that problem was excellent. That tells the person exactly what they did well so they can do it again.
So, this leads us to a huge question, one that parents and students have been asking forever. What about homework? Is it actually effective practice? Well, the research says it's complicated. The truth is, it really depends on how well that homework is designed, and, pretty interestingly, how old the student is. The data gives us some pretty clear guidelines. As you can see, for elementary school kids, there's very little academic benefit to nightly homework. Their time is much better spent on guided practice in the classroom. But things change as they get older. For middle schoolers, you start to see benefits with around 1 to 2 hours a night. And for high schoolers, that can go up to 2 hours or even more. But, and this is a big but, that's only if the homework is quality, deliberate practice following all those do's and don'ts we just talked about.
So let's zoom out and put a bow on all of this. The big idea is really simple, but it can change everything. Practice smarter, not harder. This is how we can transform practice from something we dread into a clear, achievable path to getting great at something.
If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Deliberate practice is not a punishment. It's not a chore. It is a strategic and honestly an empowering process. It's how you build knowledge that actually sticks, and it's how you build the kind of deep confidence that only comes from really, truly knowing your stuff.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. What's one skill, could be for your job, a hobby, anything in your life, what's that one thing you could truly master if you stopped just mindlessly repeating and started practicing deliberately, starting today?